We are summer people. We're not full-time. We've always been summer people. And I don't remember a single summer not being in Saluda, North Carolina. Our family lives in Tennessee. I grew up in Kingsport. I went to college in Greenville and settled down south of Knoxville. So I just went down the interstate. I wished I'd gone the other way, but it's kind of an unusual way our family got to Saluda. It was my grandfather that worked for the British Railroad in Havana, Cuba. He designed almost every railroad bridge on the whole island of Cuba.
My dad and the railroad liked Batista because they transported his troops, the rural guards, all over the island, and he paid his bills on time, always. But the wealthy families of Cuba took every penny of their money and sent it to Switzerland, France, Germany. None of it stayed in Cuba.
My dad got asthma, and he had to come out of the tropics. The doctors down there said, you got to get out of the tropics. Our family is originally from Augusta, Georgia. The Twiggs family. There was in fact, Robert E. Lee's first commanding general was my namesake, General David E. Twiggs. And that was in the Mexican-American War. He went to Clemson and got a job with the British Railroad. He was a railroad engineer. Because of that, and my family coming up here, my dad talks about it, but he doesn't give the names of the two other families that came up with us. One was the Watermans, who later married the Bames. Many of you probably know the Bames. Mary Waterman was a childhood friend of my dad's, and they came up, and then she married a Bame, and that's how they got involved. The other family was the Ogdens that owned Ogden Mountain. They came up, Anita's here, and their family came up, and they all were railroad people, all worked for the railroad, and my grandfather chose this place because it's the steepest railroad. That's why, he chose that because of that reason, I know that there are some histories on the history tape that a lot of people came up for other reasons, for health reasons too, but my grandfather chose Saluda because of the railroad grade, which was kind of neat. These replicas, my grandfather built these replicas. Like I told you, he was an engineer, so he was good at. This is where we are right now, a replica of a train station. My grandfather actually died before I was even born, so I never met the man. He died in Havana. He knew things were changing. The family was Baptist, became Episcopalian because of the British influence down there, and he went to an Episcopal private school down there, and he'd walk to school and come back, and he saw the barrios. He could tell that when you had so much opulence right beside so much poverty, there was no way that could stand. And that's the thing that's a danger of if you ever lose your middle class. Things like that happen because people just can't stand that way. And that's what happened. And one of the neat things I always remember about Saluda was that, and I think we've lost this, and forgive me for this editorial, but you invited me, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, so I'm going to give you a but the other families weren't. And the Bames and my parents would sit on a dinner table and argue the toss about all kinds of things. That doesn't happen. We are in our camps now. And that's one thing I remembered about Saluda, that people of very different ideas and different cultures and things would be able to come together and share your stories peacefully. And we have to get back to that as a country. We got to get away from being in our camps and get together and talk about things with our neighbors. Don't leave politics out of it. I know I'm 60, but I still remember I was about maybe 4 or 5. I don't think I was quite in kindergarten yet. But I was designated that time to ride up with grandmother, and then everybody else would come up in cars with her stuff for the summer. So I remember riding up and loving it, looking out the window, seeing everything. But when we got to the Saluda train, they have to blow that whistle. And this was, unfortunately, I wasn't not only for the steam engines, these were diesel. They were very loud diesel engines. And that scared the life out of me. And I remember crying right on the thing, getting off the train and just bawling. And the first thing my mother did was take me over to Ward's, and Ms. Ward was there sitting on the stool, as she was always, when I was a little boy, sitting on the stool. She soothed me, hugged me, said, "David, here," and gave me a Tootsie Roll Pop. And I remember that still today. And the Wards, our family has been so close. I remember Jack and Charlie very well. My grandmother always had groceries hauled up. Our house is up on Florida Street. It's the pink house. It's always been some weird color, and that's because of this Latin influence that my family had. It's a pink color now. It's been yellow. It's been green. It's been various different colors, but it's pink right now. And they would bring the groceries up, and I remember that. But I remember hearing the train coming, me and my sisters. We'd hear that train. As soon as that train come, we'd come tearing down the hill. Almost always one of us would skin our knees as we ran past Ms. Wood's house. And, of course, she still lived, when I was a little boy, she still lived in that old Ms. Wood's house up there on Church Street. And we'd come run down. She would help us if we got scratched or anything. Come run down to put coins on the train to get them flattened as that train came through. And so that's really my memories of trains in Saluda.